Welcome everyone to episode 67 of Video Game Club. As always, I am your host Tyler, and I have with me today our little explorer on his own quest, Austin.
Hello.
Hello. And it would not be a Video Game Club episode without our very own cute little fox, Mox.
Hello.
There weren't any like big characters in this game that had names, so I had to get creative.
Mox the fox.
Yeah.
I'll accept it.
Austin, how are you doing, sir?
Tired. I'm tired, but I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. What have you been playing besides Tunic?
Oh, I'm working my way through Yakuza 7.
Wait, what's the last one that's out?
So 7's the last mainline game that's out. But then Ishin just came out, which is like takes place in the 1800s.
Oh, how interesting. Or like a Great Ace Attorney Chronicles.
And that's like a remake of a spin-off that they had done. So eventually I want to play that. And then there's Judgment, which is like a side series that...
And Lost Judgment.
And Lost Judgment, of course.
Oh, goodness.
So though, if I get to those, then I'll be caught up. But I assume 8 is going to come out before then. And then there's also like a Dragon Gaiden that's going to be like a connecting story between 6 and 8.
Oh yeah,
it's not 7. That makes sense. Anyways, I'm playing Yakuza 7. I'm almost caught up to where Tyler is.
Won't be long.
Yeah, it won't be long. I have... Oh, what else? I have been working on Freedom Planet 2. That is a much longer game than I thought it would be, so I still have quite a ways to go.
What
kind
did we
of
talk
game
about that
is
game in the context of? It was recently.
It's something I've been like... Every once in a while I bring up that I've been working on it, because like I'll put it down for a while and then I'll pick it up again. So I'm
Neon
working
White?
on it again. Maybe that's when I was playing it again? Possibly.
What kind of game is it?
It's so people call it the greatest Sonic, or the first one. They were
I
it's
remember.
the greatest Sonic
I
fan
remember.
game.
I remember
and
now.
The
I remember
creator was
now.
like, "This is not a Sonic fan game."
Yeah, Mox is right. We've talked about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were waiting forever, right, for it to come out, and it finally did, right?
For years, I've been waiting for 2 to come out. It finally did, and I've been very slowly working my way through it. But and also finally completed another chapter in FF7 remake.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So what chapter are you on now? 13, you said? Right?
14.
14.
Yeah, so I'm closing in.
That's awesome.
Wait, I want to ask about Yakuza. In my layperson's opinion, not having played, 1 minute of any of the voluminous amount of games there are, my perception is that it has the, like, of modern games that have a lot of iterations that are standalone titles, it has probably the least amount of remakes I've heard of in recent years.
It's a good call out.
So they did remakes of 1 and 2 because those were released on PlayStation 2 and they were in really bad shape. I don't think they'll ever remake 3 onward, at least not for a long time. And then I think they chose to remake Ishin because it never got localized, and it was getting to the point where a lot of people were like, "This is I can speak Japanese, and this is a great game, and it's a shame that no one will ever get to play this."
Oh.
So it's good that they were able to finally tackle that. There's one other game in that same vein. It's called Kenzan. I forget. Maybe that one takes place in the 1700s.
Oh my!
I can't remember. And they haven't said if they're going to localize that one or remake it or not, because apparently localizing it will be a lot harder. But their localization team is nuts. They're very, very good at what they do, and they put a lot of work and passion into what they do. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Mox, how are you?
I'm okay.
Yeah. What have you been playing besides Tunic?
My sister and I, growing up, played her interactive Nancy Drew point-and-click adventure game, and they haven't released a new one in far too long. And then I started playing, because it was part of the PlayStation catalog or whatever, if you have PlayStation Plus, The Forgotten City, and it is Roman-themed, which is just exquisite. But then I started it, and it has just these horrible, not horrible. They're like, come on, this game was made recently, and it has, like 1999 character models talking to you, and I got the instant vibe of those Nancy Drew games, which are lovably awful. And so I stopped playing it, and then told my sister, we have to play this together. Whenever we play, I play, and then she watches or falls asleep. So it was just like old times. But this time she didn't fall asleep. I didn't let her. And we played The Forgotten City, and it's pretty fun. It has, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but it has surprising like quality of life elements that then have funny character interactions, which I enjoyed. And I think we got all but one of the endings, and so we just have that one ending left, and it's pretty cute.
Wow.
I do recommend it.
Fun fact, I'm pretty sure that game started off as an Oblivion mod.
I can see it. The characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I recommend you play Eastshade after that with your sister.
Is it is it a mystery? You solve mystery? Yeah,
and it's like a puzzly mystery type. First person.
If you know all the answers, it's easy to go, you wouldn't really play it again. Those are the games I really like.
I didn't get far enough to know that.
Which game you said?
Eastshade.
Eastshade, okay.
Yeah. I recommend it. I talked about it a long time ago. Anything else you've been playing, Mox?
Well, I really only I guess I've been playing Fez because you guys made me.
Made you? What?
I don't do what you guys do, which is just I play a little bit of this game. Play a little bit of that game. I forget the games. I have been playing Fez.
Just to be clear,
we did not make Mox play Fez. We said we were getting big Fez vibes from Tunic, and then Mox was like, "I'm gonna play Fez."
No.
What happened is I started Fez because I was like, "Oh, I want to play Fez," and then I checked the leaderboard and I saw Mox was at 40-something%, and I was at 20. And I was like, Mox, are you playing Fez? And she was like, yeah.
I bought it in, what did I say? 2013? Something like that? Gosh, way too long ago.
Are you enjoying Fez so far?
Well, I have thoughts. Should I talk about it now or later?
Well, let's do later.
Yeah.
I have also been playing Fez, like I mentioned before. I've also been working on Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I am on Chapter 5. I'm fighting some bugs right now. And every time I play that game, I'm just like, why don't I just keep playing? Why am I playing anything else besides this game right now? Because
you have to play Ghostwire Tokyo.
That's true. And it's coming to Xbox, and they're going to bring more content. I'm so excited. That was such good news for me this week. And then part of the pre-show, which is recorded but never shared, I talked about playing Portal 2. And
I never Portal.
Yeah, I've never played the single player, so I am now playing the single player of Portal 2, and it is very, very good. I will probably beat that pretty soon. I think. I've been playing a couple hours. Maybe I might.
We have to talk about it.
It's easily in the top 2 best mainline Portal games.
Definitely one of the best games that Elle McLean voices some sort of overseer at.
Oh yeah. Now, before we get started, just as a reminder, this is Video Game Club, where usually every 2 weeks we discuss a game voted on by our wonderful friends in the Bombchu Discord and discuss that game right here on twitch.tv/BombchuTV. If you can't catch us live, don't worry. You can find it on YouTube, all major podcast services. And if you appreciate what you're hearing, please consider subscribing, rating, commenting, all those fun things, and hopping into the Bombchu Discord and nominating a game or swaying the vote. All those fun things. The nominations for this episode were suggested by myself, and they were Tunic, Sable, and Cult of the Lamb. And I realized that I'm just going to have to make a vote that's just Sable, or Sable eventually, so that we play Sable finally. But Tunic was the winner, so we are going to discuss Tunic. After we do the general overview of the game and we talk about the release and reception, once we get into the discussion piece, I am going to put on the spoiler tag for the whole discussion piece because of how this game is. and I would hate for anyone to be spoiled if you really want to go into this blind. And this is one of those games where you want to go in blind. I think whenever we started talking about Tunic and looked like it was winning, I think, Austin, you shared, like, do not watch a speedrun of this because...
Yes, there's a lot of the game. There's a lot of stuff that you can do in the game that you just don't know about. That's not obvious, and you can do it from the start. Like, a lot of it is like, oh, by the way, now you can do this. We're going to tell you now, but you could have done it all along. And the speedrun, like, in the first few seconds, immediately spoils a major mechanic of the game.
I forgot to watch it. I'm excited to watch it.
Ooh. One of the achievements requires a little bit of speedrunning-esque strats, which I'll talk about later. Okay. Tunic, it's an isometric action-adventure game inspired by Zelda, for sure. Maybe a little Dark Souls inspiration as well. Developed by Andrew Schuldice with the help of Eric Billingsley and Mako? No, it's probably Mako. Eric and Mako are both artists, and I shared some of their art with you guys, and it's beautiful. Like,
it is
so pretty. I think, Mox, you commented on about the instruction booklet and how, like,
it really
fits.
suits the vibe.
Yeah.
I couldn't have picked a better artist.
Totally agree. This game was published by Finji. Did they sound familiar to anybody?
I recognize their
Death's
logo.
Door?
No. Night in the Woods.
Oh, barf.
Oh, gosh.
Are you sure they don't do Death's Door? I thought they did Death's Door.
I mean, it's possible.
Something to do with it.
It's possible I missed it. Could be. This game was released March 16th, 2022. First came to Windows, Mac, and Xbox consoles, and then later came to Switch and PlayStation 4 and 5 on September 27th, 2022. 2022, last year.
Oh, gosh.
We had the Steam Deck. It turned 1 recently, right? Yeah, like this month. It turned 1.
Yep.
And Mox finally got to play the Playdate. And Mox, can you give us, like, a quick summary? How'd you feel?
Well, you talk it up every time we talk about whatever year, I guess 2022, that it was released. And yep. I confess I was not curious, but then you brought it and I played it, and it is cute, but you can't play whatever game you want on it. You have to play their game. And then you have to pay dollars to itch.io to play their game. It's an interesting model, but it's definitely for the, like, I love gaming, and gaming, I eat, breathe, and live gaming, and I'm going to have this thing. It's definitely for those kinds of people.
Which is me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovingly, though.
Oh, thank you. So we had God of War Ragnarok released last year. Elden Ring, of course. Horizon Forbidden West, Sonic Frontiers. Many, many others, including 2 games we played for Video Game Club. 2 games. One of them is a Video Game Club beloved game.
Beacon Pines.
Mox, has your opinion changed on Beacon Pines?
Well, no. Gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked it. Oh, okay.
I can't wait for that content to drop.
Yes, I waited for you to tell me about it.
I will.
You'll tell me about it.
You will be the first person. I will call you.
Thank you.
I won't be a text. It won't be a Discord message. I'll pick up the phone. And
I reinstalled it, waiting for it, so I'm ready.
Oh, hell yeah! And one more game.
Shoot.
Mox was not a fan of this. Austin,
you
narrow it down.
Yep,
much.
Neon White.
Ah, yes.
I'm still slowly chipping away at that, but man, the rocket launcher levels are just a pain for hunting down the presents and stuff. Okay, so Tunic, it got high 8s and 9s. People really liked it. They praised the game design, the enemy variety, the instruction manual, or the booklet, which we'll definitely talk about, and the art design. Things that people weren't super crazy about was the difficulty, which I'm sure we'll talk about, and that the fast travel system is pretty restrictive, so there can be quite a lot of backtracking. All right, I'm throwing on that spoilers tag. another warning. This game is really nice I feel like, to discover on your own all the little things. I feel like it's very rewarding, and it does a good job of explaining a lot of it. So if you want to go in completely blind, which I think we would all recommend,
Yes.
Strongly. Please tune out. And thank you for coming and listening for this far. But if you played it or you just don't care, we're going to start that discussion right now. So let's start with the gameplay. I already mentioned, but it's isometric, Zelda Souls-like-esque game. You control a little fox. How cute is that fox, Mox?
Real
How cute.
Real cute.
The cutest. And there's a plushie. It's sold out, though, like almost instantly. It was crazy.
It had an adorable name as well. It was huggable. It was a huggable Tunic Fox plushie.
Oh. So you control this cute little fox who's trying to free someone significant to them who's trapped. The heir is what they call him. On your journey, you go through different regions with different enemies, puzzles. When you die, you can recover your body. You can find upgrades on the ground to upgrade your stuff. It's got perks as well that you can unlock by throwing these coins into a wishing well. That's a spoiler right there. Combat, it uses a lot of dodging and iframes, parrying. There's also magic. And as you go through this game and do this exploring, you build this instruction manual, which informs you about all the things that you didn't know before. And then you're like, oh, I can do this now. I didn't know that.
And to be clear, the instruction manual exists essentially outside of the game, but you find the pages inside of the game because when you pause to look at it, it's like your screen turns into the CRT. Like,
so cool.
Zoom out. Love it.
So cool. Mox, what did you think about this gameplay?
It was tough. I appreciated the ability to reduce the combat difficulty, and it did it in a great manner, which is basically making you just like the tankiest little fox. And I really appreciated that because it still made it worthwhile to collect upgrades, and it made fights not hair pulling, like game ending difficult. Mm-hmm. And I struggle a bit with these kinds of these fighting things. I mean, this is Dark Souls fighting. Gosh, I'm so bad at it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Mox, but I think you turned it on once you hit the first boss, right? Or you turned it to easy once you hit the first boss?
I'm pretty sure it was before.
Oh, a little before. Okay.
There were I don't want to just throw every spoiler out there.
Do it. The tag is on. Go.
There's a lot of enemies that these mice. I guess they're mice. They're rats. I don't know. Mm-hmm. They attack you. And they swing their sword and they prime it and they're about to slash it and then you are meant to dodge. And just if I could get that rhythm down, I would have been golden, but I just can't. I can't do it. And I was tired of being slashed because you have to when you respawn or if you save, everything you killed respawns.
Yeah.
And oh my God, sometimes I just want to get where I'm going. And I was tired of dying.
That's fair. There's also, for more accessibility, you can also make it to where your stamina doesn't go down and your health doesn't go down either.
I forgot to check that.
Wow.
That is amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. Austin, Tunic gameplay? It's good, right?
Yeah, it is good. I think the one piece that I didn't love about it was the combat. And I didn't hate it. I just, I wanted it to be more fun.
Yeah.
There's a lot of enemies that it's okay, wait,
Mm-hmm.
dodge or block, and then here's your opportunity to attack a little bit, and then wait. Like the birds, oh my God, the birds are awful. You have to wait for so long for them to get close enough for you to hit them, and then it's okay, oh cool, you still have tons more health. And then as soon as I was really complaining to Tyler and Mox about the birds, I got an item that made it so that I could close that. Yeah, I got the whip, I guess.
The grapple whip thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could pull them over to you, and then you're that was really satisfying. So anytime there was something that I was really getting annoyed with combat-wise, it would usually get addressed pretty quickly. But even by the end, once I had everything. It wasn't like ultra fun to do combat. Like I think if they had ripped Death's Door, the combat from Death's Door, that would have just been so good. But I mean, for what it was good. But like outside of the combat, like I did appreciate the combat was definitely super hard, especially in later boss fights.
Yeah.
But it made me appreciate my upgrades. And
then when they get taken away, so sad.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
I did not like that section at all. That really made me mad. But yeah, so I would prefer to have this combat than no combat. I wish the combat was a little more fun. Other than that, I had a great time in general with the gameplay.
I struggled with closing distance, and so I want to hear if you guys struggle with that at all, or was that completely a me problem? Because that was like 90% of my frustration was I couldn't get, because exactly like you said, you wait for an opening, but by the time the opening is available, they're so far away.
That does happen regularly. I got really frustrated because, like, you know, sometimes you can hit like twice or 3 times, but in some games that are like that. But for this, it was like once, maybe twice. That's why that whip thing was really nice to have, because I would grab them, be like, no, come back here. Let me hit you a couple times. Then you can go away. For me, like, I agree. Like, the combat to me is the weakest part of this game.
Yeah.
And it's not terrible, but the rest of the game is just so good, I think.
And I'd rather have it than not, just because it's like it provides an obstacle to getting to that next secret, right?
Yeah. I almost put it on easy after the first when you reach the first boss in the west area. But I was like, I'm like, let me put it on easy, but I was too stubborn. And then I was like, no, I can do it. I can do this. And I finally did it. And it was rewarding, but the end boss and some of the bosses were rough. Like, just and when the end boss has the second phase, I was not happy about that.
Yeah, and usually, like, if you're having super trouble on a boss, it's a sign that you're missing something. Like, there was a boss that I tried over and over again, and I was just like, I'm missing something. And when I went to go look up strategies for that boss, they're like, you should use the wand. And I was like, I don't have a wand. What's that? Where do I get that?
The other thing, too, is the first time you played this, Austin, didn't you, like, not have a shield for a long time?
Yes, so I actually continued off of that playthrough. So I didn't have a shield up until the point when it was time to get the 3 keys. And that I had told Tyler, I was like, yeah, I still don't have the shield yet. And he was like, oh, you should definitely have that by now.
Yeah.
So I needed to do some backtracking to go figure that out. But finally found it, and there was a boss that a lot of times it was not super useful, but there was a boss that it was just like I would not have been able to fight that boss without it.
Yeah. Mox, were the upgrades still significant even on lower difficulty?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. Awesome. So we can talk more in our personal takes, of course, about specifics. Visually, this game is gorgeous. To me, it felt like I was kind of, and it's hard to explain, but these are the words that I use. Like, I'm playing with toys is how it felt to me. Like, I see this like little area that I've built with toys, and like it's like whenever I would play with toys as a kid, what it was in my head, like whenever I was playing with them, like it looked very similar to this. And the Mox already talked about this, like touched on it, but the instruction manual artwork is just so good. And the fox, he just looks so good and so cute.
Adorable.
Yeah. Mox, visuals, were you a fan?
Yes, it had a very idiosyncratic, like, way of being, and it just, like, lived in that space and took over it and just did it all the way, and it was excellent.
Austin?
Beautiful. Yeah, it was really lovely to look at. There were a lot of sections like gelled well together and transitioned well together, and then there was like the area where you go underground, and it was just totally different, but it looked super cool and just fit the engine so well. And the way things would glow, the colors that they picked, like I was initially playing this on Steam Deck handheld, and then Mox, you and I were on the same wavelength. We ended up playing this docked because you just needed to see all that color, because the colors are just so vibrant and beautiful. And I love the Steam Deck, but its screen is not the best for showing off like really vibrant colors. And I had just gotten a new TV when we started doing this, and so it looked so good on there. Oh my gosh!
What a great way to break it in. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it was a great way to break it in.
Oh yeah, it just looks so good. Mox, so you're a fan of Monument Valley, right?
Yes.
And this has some of that with the like isometric puzzles and stuff that it does, like with the camera. You don't rotate the camera, but it has like some some puzzles that
you can like
similar.
Push a button to lift the camera up a little bit.
Yeah.
And sometimes the camera will turn, like if you go around a specific corner of an area or something like that.
Do you feel like those puzzles are like the little hidden areas were pretty fair for the most part, Mox?
There were, well, if I'm comparing it to Fez, absolutely. Yeah. Way more fair than Fez.
Right.
I do think there was a bit of like inductive reasoning for quite a few of them that was not easily graspable unless you had more context, and context is hard to come by in this game.
True. That is true.
I feel like starting out, it was really like I was trying to figure out. You had to use some hidden routes to get around, because it was like not everything was open to you. Yeah. At least maybe I was going the wrong way, but
probably
like trying to follow along on the map, it was like, okay, well, I'm supposed to just be able to get there, but that's blocked off. So how do I? And then I would find a hidden way through, and it was just like, what? Oh my god!
This whole time.
Yeah. So the first like few hours, it was kind of rough finding those, but then once you know that kind of stuff is there, and you know like more how to read your manual, it felt a lot more like I would kind of go out of my way to push up against stuff. If like it was like, ooh, I can't see myself right now, I should feel around a little bit to see if there's like a hidden pathway here or something like that. Or let me push up on this edge because there might be some stairs hiding back behind that wall or something.
Did you?
And even then, sometimes I would miss like major shortcuts. It was like I would come back from a later area and be like, this shortcut was here the whole time. Ah!
Yeah
Which was really cool.
Mox, did you find the room where you can choose your outfit, like the color?
No.
What?
Did you guys know that existed?
No.
Yep.
I would never change it though.
I also didn't, but yeah, there's a room where you can change your outfit, and it's so hidden like so well, but you can get to it like right off the start. And I was just like, this was here this whole time. I didn't know until the end. It was crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. All right. It is time to talk about that sweet audio. This soundtrack is by Lifeformed. They also did the Dust Force soundtrack, and they did the soundtrack for the Double Fine Adventure documentary. Austin, you're making a lot of noises. Are you a fan of this music?
I did like the music in here a lot. I have listened to the Dust Force soundtrack so many times.
For real?
For real. I don't like that game, but I love the soundtrack. I listen to it a lot. Some of that music was in my son's like birth playlist. It's great working music. It's great relaxing music. It's great. It's just really good. That soundtrack is awesome. So when I saw Lifeformed was doing the soundtrack for this, it's Lifeformed and who's the other person? Because I don't want to like leave their name out.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, let me check. Actually, let me do the clicky clackies.
Yeah. Anyways, while you look that up, this is
Janice Kwan.
A different vibe. There you go.
Yeah,
Janice Kwan. So this is a different vibe, very different vibe from Dust Force, but it's still like, man, just coming back to that first hub area. It's so nice, and the music like fades into different themes as you like go to different parts of the hub. Like when you go over by the windmill and or like the old house, it brings in like the chimes and changes. It's like oh, that's our favorite feature from Banjo-Kazooie, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, very very lovely soundtrack.
Mox, you're playing Fez right now. Do you feel like it's similar to Fez, like the soundtrack? Did you like it? Okay.
This one's way better.
Okay, way better.
I don't know what it is about Fez. It's like assaulting a bit. It's very loud, even if I turn it down to be quiet. Whereas this one was a bit more minimal, and I don't know. It's like it suited the atmosphere. Like it was a lot more atmospheric, whereas Fez is not as atmospheric.
Mox, are you telling me that you don't like Sync from the Fez soundtrack?
I don't know which one that is.
That's that room where the platforms appear and disappear, and they're synchronized to the music.
Oh no!
What?
I can't. So much of it is like almost like aggressive or spooky. Even the not spooky themes, they still feel disconcerting.
That's
this one felt so much more comfortable.
Would you listen to this soundtrack on its own, Mox?
No.
It didn't. It doesn't quite hit the Banjo Nuts and Bolts credits theme for you. It's not.
Well,
quite
that
there.
one has so many different little things that I'm like, oh, I recognize that. This one, I don't know. It reminds me a bit of Breath of the Wild, although this is far less minimal than Breath of the Wild. But
True.
It is like you like it because you're playing the game and it suits the area you're in, not because I'm like, oh wow, this is a great track.
I see. I love the soundtrack for this, and I bought it. I pre-ordered it on vinyl, and I cannot wait for it to arrive. And I'm so excited. And I've listened to it and the Fez soundtrack multiple times while working. And yeah, I think it's just great. Do you have any regrets, Austin, on not pre-ordering Tunic soundtrack?
I don't think so. Like, for the price that it was, I don't
yeah,
think,
it was
think it was just too expensive for me.
Yeah, it was very expensive.
But it looks really sick, and it's going to sound really good. I have been trying to give it a listen just like outside of playing the game to see if it's something that I would listen to like more often. And I haven't gotten to listen to the whole soundtrack through all the way once, but I feel like music I like and music I spin on vinyl are like, those are two different, like there's some cross section there, but it's not It's not one for one.
Sure.
I don't know if this is one that I would like spin all the time.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So moving on to the controls and interface. I don't know about you guys, but I struggled with parrying quite a bit. Speaking of controls and how the combat works.
Did you have the accessory that extends the parrying window?
Yeah, and I still struggled.
Well, you didn't have to use it.
Yeah, but for the end boss, it was very critical. For me.
I didn't fight that. Who wants to fight that character? That's the A. I want to do the B. Spread, share your wisdom.
Yeah, that is the way. But I had to get the achievements, Mox. I need the points. I have to feel like I did something. But I thought overall the controls were pretty good. And the interface was really minimal. I kept messing up where I would press the button to look at the map, and then I would look at my inventory, and then vice versa. I did that a lot.
Yeah,
but that's probably a me problem. I don't know.
Well, also, once you would pull up the inventory, I would try to push B to back out, and that just assigns something to B.
Yes, I also would do that.
Oh my god, all the time.
Did you? Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not alone. Mox, controls and interface?
I did what you just said, like assigning something to B way too often. At least I never wasn't able to immediately fix it, but you don't pause when you go to your inventory, but you do when you go to the, whatever, when you go to the book. So that frustrated me, especially when you only have 3 slots and one of them really needs to be your sword. I wish sword would go away and would always be there, and then I'd have some extra one on, I don't know, something else. I really needed 3 slots. 2 was difficult because you cannot functionally change your inventory in the middle of a scuffle.
Yes, that is definitely.
I did change it during one boss fight.
No way.
Very quickly. I was just like, panic, gotta switch.
Wow.
It was terrifying, but yeah, I basically gave up a damage phase to swap an item out.
It only pauses when you look at the manual, which, the way that you look at it, it kind of makes sense that it would be paused for that case. Okay. You guys both played on Steam Deck.
Mm-hmm.
What was the performance like? Start with you, Austin.
It was great. I had one crash after playing for a long time. Like, I had it docked. I was playing for several hours, and I could hear the fan starting to go more and more. And at some point, I did something, and the game crashed. And I thankfully didn't really lose much progress because it saves pretty frequently. But other than that, everything was great.
Yeah, I played on Xbox, and it was no issues, no bugs. Mox, same experience for you. Like, Steam Deck, pretty solid.
Yes, but I used an Xbox controller, which I'm not used to. Apparently,
yes.
I didn't think there was a difference, but I think you figured out. If you anytime I believe you will teleport, it rumbles,
mm-hmm. Yep.
and I just don't know how anybody plays with an Xbox controller after coming from the DualSense PlayStation controller, which has fancy vibration that, like, for example, in Final Fantasy XIV, when I'm mounted and flying, if my mount barely brushes, like a tree or something, I get the just like light vibration of that makes sense of just like the wind kind of coming off of that object, and then like a stronger vibration when I hit something.
Yeah,
but the Xbox controllers don't do that.
No.
Dashing, teleporting does a vibration, and you are tempted, at least I was, to just dash everywhere.
Oh yeah,
because
for sure.
Why wouldn't you?
You're right.
And it accumulates vibration. So like every dash,
it makes
needs
a cue.
To do its full vibration, bit, and you get your stamina back pretty quickly when you're not like in combat. And so I would dash like 30 times, and then 5 minutes later, the controller is finally done vibrating for all of those little dashes.
Yeah. And the funny part is, I tried it on Xbox to do the exact, because I went to Mox's house and I did it what she said, and I held it, and yeah, it was annoying because it was vibrating like pretty crazy. So I tried it on Xbox. It doesn't do it on Xbox. It must be some weird bug or something.
I don't remember encountering that, but maybe I just have vibration turned off on my Steam Deck.
I should have done that. My hands were numb, and especially there was one time where you go in an elevator down the quarry, and there's I don't know if the Xbox controller doesn't like have different levels of vibration, but it was so much. I had to put the controller somewhere else, and then my cat laid on it. So that was cute. I guess I'll ascribe that to Tunic, because that wouldn't have happened otherwise. But definitely very annoying. That's like my only, I guess it's a bug. I'm not sure, but that was very annoying.
It's weird that because I also thought it was the Xbox controller when you first told me. So I was like, oh, I'm going to try it when I get home. And it didn't do it. So it must be the way PC Rumble works with Xbox controller. I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, it was significant though. Like, if people are like, oh, Mox is probably just like overplaying this. No, it was. No, I did it, and it was awful in the hands.
Yeah, I've definitely had some games where I've had to turn vibration off while using an Xbox controller because like it's just too strong and too often. I've never had something where it queues up for like 5 minutes like that. That's insane.
It was
That's really
weird.
Crazy.
Well, I pushed that one. I just did as many dashes as I could until I was done with it.
But even then,
went.
like, why would it add it to a queue? Like, that doesn't even make sense.
No.
From a design standpoint. I believe you that it happened. It's just like that's really odd. But even without that really stupid decision to make that happen. The vibration can just be way too much. And now that you say that, it may not be like I've played some PlayStation titles on Steam, like Miles Morales and God of War. I played on there, and I think both of them had a vibration meter, like an intensity meter from 1 to 10, and it starts off at like 5 or 10, but even like lowering it down to 1, it was just like This still feels like full blast, so I'm just going to turn it off. So I don't know if that's just if that's an Xbox controller issue that maybe it can't. It's on or it's off. I don't know.
It's aggressive.
1 or 0. Yeah. All right, moving on to the story of this game. It's such a lovely story, sad and happy. Let's start. We're not going to hash it out, but this game has multiple endings. And me and Austin, I think, both got the bad ending and the good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Mox, you went for you were like, I'm getting that good ending.
Well, it presents it in the manual pages as like an or.
Mm-hmm.
And the first, the bad ending, A, which I think it's like become the heir to the heir. And it's like very aggressive and like, I don't want to do that. And I was like, whatever. And at the time, I assumed it was like a false ending. And then when you guys got it, it became clear that it is like a second ending or the first ending, maybe. And so I was like, I'm not going to go for a false ending. I just need to go for the true ending. And so, yeah, I went for it.
And the first ending is very like, it definitely feels like a bad ending because you swap spots with the heir and now you're trapped, and it feels bad. You do get the credits and everything, but yeah, the good ending it's just so lovely. Like, Mox, it was adorable, all of it.
Yes. Well, I almost don't even want to spoil it here.
Oh my gosh, do it. We got this tag on for a reason. Don't
all right.
hold back.
Well, like triple spoilers. So you do this grand puzzle, which is very esoteric in the book until you realize the puzzle is about the book, and you have to finish the book, collect all the pages, which includes figuring out how the fairies work, which were still further esoteric puzzles that I had to get some hints for, but luckily the kind people at Reddit were very much like, like reveal this spoiler text for hint number 1, and that hint had nothing in it, so I had to go to the hint number 2, but I got it after that. And then I like took a picture on my phone of the grid that you have to assemble, and then you put together all of these like little codes from the little book and put it together, and then you enter this. I don't know. It took me like probably like 60 seconds to enter this code on my Konami code on my thing, and then it opens the door, and then you go and you bestow your wisdom upon the heir, and the heir kind of like leans down to look at you and look at your little manual and like pulls his hands out, and then it just like becomes your like little dad. And I instantly saw Austin and his son in this like little like dad fox and baby fox, and then the credits roll and you're like going around in the little areas that you've been throughout your little time in Tunic. It was just so cute.
And if you have the bad ending, that does not happen at all.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, all the places are empty.
Did you guys? Was I the only one who got all the secret treasures?
I did not.
Yeah,
I got one of them.
Who has time for that?
Me, because I need them achievement points. I did all the secret treasures, and if you do them all, again, this is also like super spoilery. There's this glyph, like this like master puzzle that you do. And once you do that, it gives you a URL to a website. Mox, did you read into this?
No.
Okay, so it gives you a URL called doyoufeartheeyesofthefarshore.co. And if you go to that website, it's just like this monster that has like the gems or the keys as its eyes, basically. And if you look in the source code, there's an MP3 file that you can download. And if you look at that file through a spectrogram...
Oh my god, it's an ARG.
It's an ARG?
The alternate reality game.
Oh, yeah. And it spells out in runes, "We are the eyes of the far shore." And I believe it spells it out in the language that this game's made-up language, which, Mox, I'm curious, like... How deep did you dive into that, and can you share?
Very much.
Can you share a little bit about that?
I'm really good at cryptograms, which is like a 1-to-1 letter exchange, and you practice them or play them by, they do quotes. They're like common quotes, and you figure them out by patterns. You're looking for thes and ands and whatever, and then finding the letters that are exchanged 1-to-1. I was really hoping it was something like that with like the script turned on its side or something. Not so. It is literally it is English, but the outside characters of the glyphs represent vowel sounds, and the inside, lines of the glyphs represent consonant sounds. And if you have a circle at the bottom, it means normally it's consonant vowel, but if you have a circle at the bottom, it means it's vowel consonant. And so each letter is like a phoneme. So the word sword, the first character is the s sound, and then the second character is the o and the the o sound and the consonant. And then the last one is a D, sword. But if you wanted paw, it would be the P character and then the A sound. So there's like ah. It's so extensive. I don't know how anybody figured this out, but there are pages in the manual that give you hints, which you still have to do quite a lot of inference to figure it out. But there are nice little like web applets that you can enter the lines in, and it quickly gives you kind of like what this phoneme is. And if you keep doing it, you can see patterns. And so it's a bit easier to read the characters. And I believe it is possible, if you were to practice quite extensively, to just like look at it and know what it says. But it was fun to translate some of the things that, you run across, but not only in the manual, which is, there's like a fan translation on Reddit that is very well done. And the words, it is a very cool like manual because they use cool words in it that are very, I don't know, like fancy, and like this is like the eyes of the far shore. That's very mysterious. They have more words like phrases like that in the manual. But then when you talk to people, they have like little cute things. Like there's one that says fish, fish, fish. I'm fishing for fish.
Aww.
Which is just adorable.
The level of detail is just insane. Like, I think they started development in 2015, so it took 7 years. It's just insane, the level of detail. Like, okay, make up your own language. Like, okay, I know it's not quite that because it's based off of English or whatever, but it's still hard.
It's based on English, but it's also like that's a lot. Like, so, Mox, I'm curious if you've solved the language in Fez yet.
No,
but.
And
okay.
I read somewhere on some Tunic post that was like, there is no quick brown fox moment for this game like there is for Fez. And it is inscrutable to me still in Fez. I'm waiting for this moment. My fox moment.
So Fez has like, Fez, it's involved, but like once you know it, it is very easy to translate. And it sounds like this is a lot more involved and intense. And I like just the way that you describe it, like that is some dedication to like that's a step above doing a oh man, that's crazy.
What did you call those puzzles, Mox? A cryptogram?
Cryptograms?
Yeah, it's a step above that for sure.
It's way beyond it. Like this person went through and decided like they wanted to have a script that was based around like basically hexagons. And like to start there is unfathomable. I mean, even I put it at the level of Tolkien because Tolkien like took existing languages and created new words to it, but used a lot of the same structure of existing languages and just created like new words and combinations of words, which is extensive. But this person just like decided they wanted to have a new language and then basically started from zero and then picked it up from there, which is just very impressive to me.
It's wild. Are we ready for our personal takes?
Yes.
I think so.
We're ready. Mox, you already given us so much information about the language. Please give us your personal take on Tunic.
I read the Steam reviews of this game before I started, and they're all luckily very like, hey, I'm not going to say any more, and you probably shouldn't read too many of these Steam reviews because this game is best enjoyed not knowing anything. But they all likened it to people, and this didn't happen to me, who played games that were Japanese growing up and the whole entire game was Japanese, and they had to figure out what the rules of the game were just by playing it.
Yep.
Which I never had that experience. I did when I was little I would go to these like used book sales, which were, gosh, a big affair. They were like the size of like, when you go to Walmart for Black Friday.
Right.
And one time I got a book that was an origami book that was in Japanese. And it was although folds are obvious, it is sometimes you have to transpose the figure in a different way to, go to the next step, and it isn't clear because it's written in Japanese. And so I liked it for my experience with that, which was like, you can see the beginning and the end with certain pages that you collect in the book, but the middle is less clear. And then when you get there and maybe you collect one more page, the picture becomes a lot clearer, and it's very rewarding when you're like, oh, I get this. And so I really enjoyed this game for that reason. I do think there is quite a bit of inductive reasoning, which I had less hints for than, for example, The Return of the Obra Dinn, which is purely an inductive reasoning game. This game had, I think, a bit less context, unlike Return of the Obra Dinn. So I did have to look things up, but I didn't feel bad about it. And this is all unlike Fez, which I feel is just very inscrutable. And there's a lot of the rules change in Fez depending on the kind of puzzle you're confronting. There's a couple consistent themes of puzzles, but for the most part, it's a different kind of puzzle you have to figure out each time. Whereas this game, once you spoke the language of Tunic, not the actual script language, but the puzzle language of it, you could infer a lot of different kinds of puzzles based on what you learned, and which I think takes a lot more effort. No shade to the Fez devs, but it takes a lot more effort to come up with that consistent universe and to make it feasible to understand if you don't read the script, which I think is assumed, but you do get a lot of benefit knowing the script. And I liked how cute the game was. I just like the little fox. You can't go wrong with it. He's so cute. And I don't know. I get tired of games where you have to fight a lot of different things, but there is so much space to just be a puzzler and not have to be a fighter, which I really appreciated. I do get frustrated with the times that I just had no idea what to do, and I couldn't infer what to do next, which happened a bit too many times for me to be like, this is the perfect game ever. And so I think I would give it an 8.5 because it was just very good.
Okay, 8.5. Wow. Austin, what about you?
So, one, thank you for gifting this game to me, and thank you for picking it for Game Club, because I had played through the first few hours of it, loved what I had played, and for some reason I just got sidetracked and didn't come back to it.
Story of my life.
Yeah.
That's why we do this.
That's right.
I 100% identified with that feeling of trying to play a game in Japanese and figure out what you can. Because I did that as a kid. My dad took me to this little store called Game Pros, and that was where we picked up a PlayStation. We got a used PlayStation, but this place also did import games, and so I was super into Dragon Ball Z at the time. And they're like, "Oh, you like Dragon Ball Z? We've got these 3 Dragon Ball Z games they're Japanese, but you don't need to know Japanese to play through them." And it was true, but it was definitely tougher. And one of them, I was trying to figure out how to do special moves, and there was just anything in Japanese text is it'll have a lot of it's in Japanese, but they'll have certain words in English.
Oh,
and
how funny.
And then they'll the button prompts will be universally
the same, right?
You can tell what those are, and it'll be next to an image. It was very, very, very similar to my experience looking through this manual. And so anytime that you can glean some information, figure something out, it's just a total rush of just okay, the information wasn't there, but I figured it out anyways from just the little context clues around there. And so that's really fun. On top of that, the core game and the way that it hides its secrets, really fun. The way that the manual has little secrets on maps and stuff like that, also really cool. And then after I beat the game and did the bad ending, I was okay, well, I got to figure out how to get the rest of this. And I didn't find the Holy Cross until after I beat the final boss.
Well,
And then that just tore the game open. It was like, oh, here's this other half of the game that you didn't know about. And I would that's where I was like, this has major Fez vibes, because Fez it's okay. You can play through the whole game and get to the end and be totally fine. But then it's like, okay, well, there's this other half of the game that I missed. And once you kind of figure out what goes into doing those, then it's just like, oh my god, like there's another half of this game. And like, so the core game already great on its own, and then when you find out there's this even more like secret piece that was just laying right in front of your eyes the whole time, mind-blowing in the best way. And it's just like, I'm so stupid, but also like, this is awesome. The combat was not perfect. It was fine, but it started to frustrate me at certain times, and then I would get over it. The cathedral, I think, really was where I started to... I was riding really high up until about the cathedral.
Like when you lose your powers. Is that what you're talking about specifically?
You lose your powers, and then everything there... when they hit you, it lowers your max health. Like, it's just, everything is really frustrating about that area.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just worked my butt off to get all these powers, and then you take it away from me because reasons. I mean, that wasn't fun for me. I don't know if that was fun for y'all, but that was not a fun section for me.
Not my favorite.
And then having to go hunt down your powers again, it was like, okay, cool, but I'm not like more powered up because I got them all back. Even though it makes your stats like gold.
Yeah.
And they were acting like that was supposed to be like better, but I didn't feel like I was stronger.
I don't think
know.
And you can upgrade them after that too, which is like...
You can.
So,
yeah,
that's weird.
Yeah, that section I didn't like, and that took it down. I was like, I was thinking internally in my head what I was going to rate this game, and like there were sections for a while that I was like, this might be a 10. And then I hit some spots where I was like, okay, that's probably like... It's probably a 9 because of this. And then when I got to the cathedral, I was like, this is an 8. Damn it. I hate this part. But, and then I got to like the other half of the game, and I mean, that easily raises it back up to a 9 for me. So it's a 9 for sure. I loved this. I loved the core game. I loved the secrets. I loved the extra game that I didn't know about.
The game inside the game.
I loved the whole structure. I loved how the secrets were hidden and how they were revealed to you, and like it just begged you to come and figure everything out. The only improvement I would make to this game is, make that section where you lose your powers not so damn long, and maybe replace the combat with Death's Door combat. Yeah. And oh my god,
masterpiece.
That would be perfect.
I do think combat is better if you put it in easy mode. I do think that would help. I strongly recommend it.
Yeah. I don't have much more to say than what you guys have already said, but the things that really stood out to me was the exploration, the music, the puzzles were really fun. The instruction manual is just something so special, and the story was minimal, but not at the same time. It's interesting how it's told.
It was heavy.
Too. Yeah, heavy. That's a great way to describe it. For me, like, I mean, I got all the achievements in this game, and I looked up a lot of the answers to the puzzles. I'm just smooth brain when it comes to that stuff usually. But for me, like, what brought it down was similar to Austin, which was the combat. I just wish it was just like a little bit, like Death's Door would have been great. But I would also give this a 9 as well. So we're like almost aligned. I do have one question. I know we're running a little late, but I do want to know the answer to this question, starting with you, Mox. Do you want a Tunic 2? And if you do want a Tunic 2, is there anything in particular that you can think of that you would just be like, yeah, this is what Tunic 2 needs?
It would have to have another gimmick that makes it inscrutable again.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like a different kind of gimmick.
Got it. What about you, Austin?
I would love a Tunic 2, just like I would have loved a Fez 2. Sad that got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be cool to... So one, better combat. Two, I think the piece that was inscrutable about this game, like the once you kind of unlock and go, oh, the rest of the game, I think it'd be cool to keep that in the sequel, but like have a new layer on top that is harder to suss out.
Yeah.
Because like it'd be cool to just be like, oh, you played the first one? Here you go. You already know what's going on, and you get some extra little. You get access to some stuff early because of that. But then
yeah,
definitely some other layer of inscrutability.
Yeah,
that's new.
Agree. All right. Well, that was a little dive in our take on Tunic, the cute little fox game. And if you enjoyed hearing us discuss and want to join us for the next episode, stay put, because the vote just ended, and it was between Tales of Symphonia Remastered, Tales of Berseria, and Tales of Arise. And the winner is Tales of Arise. Thank you, everyone who voted. I've never played a Tales game. I'm very excited. This one will be a two-parter, so the next episode will be on April 2nd at 2 Eastern, but it will be, we're going to do the two parts. And the first part, Mox, we said we will stop when a character rejoins the party in the, quote, water region, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, okay. And once you're there, you can stop, and then we can continue the rest together for the second part. Again, thank you, everyone, for joining us, for listening on YouTube, podcast, Twitch, wherever. We really appreciate it. And Austin, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy weekend to join us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And Mox, thank you for joining us as well.
Thanks for letting me play this game.
Aw, of course. It was such a one. I'm glad this was a great. Whenever you started to dive deep into the puzzles, I was just like, Mox is probably going to really like this game.
Mm-hmm.
And special thank you to Andron for working behind the scenes.
Thank you, Andron.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. I am Tyler, and this was Video Game Club episode 67, Tunic, and we're out.